Welcome to this explainer, everyone. Today we are literally taking a completely blank canvas and transforming it into a structured, highly competitive project. So whether you're gearing up for the Congressional App Challenge, or honestly, if you just want to understand how successful digital products are actually born, well, you're in the exact right place. We are going to completely demystify the app ideation process. We're talking about stripping away all that initial overwhelm and focusing purely on what makes an app not just good, but a truly winning idea.
So, here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the anatomy of a winning app, figure out how to spark your idea, explore some real-world solutions, lock in on this thing called the MVP mindset, and finally, we'll upgrade some weak ideas into absolute powerhouses. Let's dive in.
Section 1. Anatomy of a winning app. Let's talk about the core criteria.
You know, when most people start a project, they imagine building this massive, complex behemoth. But we absolutely need a mindset shift here. Every truly great project hits specific core criteria. It has to solve a real problem, help real people, and have a crystal clear purpose. But the absolute crucial point, the secret sauce really, is quality over complexity. A simple basic app that works perfectly is always going to beat a super complex app that's broken.
Moving on to Section 2, sparking your app idea. It's all about finding the problem.
Brainstorming isn't just sitting around waiting for an apple to hit you on the head, right? You have to look closely at your own daily routine. Where are those exact moments of friction? What makes you, or maybe your classmates, let out a dramatic groan every single morning? I mean, maybe it's a tangled mess of charger cords, or a locker that just won't open. That daily frustration? That is a golden opportunity.
Next up, ask yourself, what wastes time? We all have these crazy inefficiencies in our school routines. Maybe it's standing in a specific, never-ending line, or trying to navigate some clunky online portal just to check your grades, or trying to figure out club schedules. Where is time literally bleeding out of your day? If you can build a tool that gives students their time back, you've got a winning concept on your hands.
Now, think empathetically for a second. What causes stress? Academic life is notoriously high pressure. It's a real pressure cooker. We're looking for those emotional pain points that a simple digital tool could help relieve. Is it test anxiety? Is it keeping track of volunteer hours? If your app can act as a pressure release valve for your peers, it is going to be incredibly impactful.
Finally, what technology problems exist right now? Take a good look around your school or your community. Are there completely outdated systems being used? Is there a glaring gap where modern technology could significantly improve everyday life, but just no one has stepped up to build it yet? You find that gap and boom, you find your app.
Section 3, exploring real-world solutions. Taking it from just an idea to an MVP. Okay, before we look at some real examples, we absolutely need to establish our anchor concept, the MVP, or minimum viable product. I really cannot stress this enough. A functional, simple core is your ultimate goal. The MVP is the absolute most basic, realistic version of your project that still successfully solves that core problem you identified earlier. You don't need all the fancy bells and whistles, you just need a working engine. Keep this MVP definition front and center as we look at these next case studies.
Let's set up our first narrative. Imagine a super stressed student. They're totally overwhelmed, trying to juggle 5 different classes, extracurriculars, and, having a life. Their schedule is a total mess, and as a result, they're constantly forgetting assignments and critical deadlines. This is a very real problem, and it causes a massive amount of stress.
Now, instead of trying to build a massively complex AI planner right out of the gate, you scale it down perfectly. Think about what an MVP version looks like. To prove the concept actually works, your MVP might only feature basic homework input and reminders. That's it. If you can just get the user to input their homework and successfully receive a reminder, you have built a winning MVP. You can always add the fancy AI study suggestions later on.
Okay, here's our next localized problem. I want you to empathize with that classic lost freshman experience. We've all been there. You're brand new to the school, the campus feels massive, the room numbers don't seem to make any logical sense whatsoever, and you were just terrified of being late to your very first class.
So, how do we handle a mapping solution for this? A fully interactive, turn-by-turn school map is incredibly hard to code in a short time frame. It's just not realistic. So the MVP iteration strips away those highly complex GPS features. The MVP becomes just a highly effective, super simple, clickable campus map. It solves the core problem, helping a student visualize where they actually are, without requiring a whole team of Silicon Valley engineers to build the thing.
Let's tackle a slightly different but deeply vital issue, student mental health.
The problem here is glaringly clear. Students experience really high levels of stress and anxiety throughout the academic year. The big question is, how can an app step in to offer immediate, accessible support?
You might be tempted to build out these huge guided meditation libraries or complex psychological tracking systems. But actually, scratch that. A simple daily mood check-in is the perfect, manageable starting point. If your app just simply allows the student to log how they're feeling each day and maybe track that data over a week, you've created a highly functional, really impactful tool for wellness. Start small. Trust me, the impact is still going to be huge.
Section 4, the MVP mindset. This is your competitive edge. I want to use this really powerful direct quote from our source material to drill in the truth here. It says, "The best projects are simple, meaningful, polished, and realistic, not giant unfinished apps." Judges, users, anyone evaluating your work will always prefer a simple app that looks great and works flawlessly over some massive, ambitious app that crashes the second you click a button. Remember this: simple and polished always beats complex and broken.
Section 5. Weak ideas upgraded. It is time to pivot to success.
Let's look at some classic weak app ideas and actually pivot them into winning MVPs. A generic social media app is just incredibly broad, and frankly, you're not going to beat Instagram or TikTok in a weekend coding challenge. No way. It's a guaranteed failure of scale. But think about a stronger, much more focused version. A school club communication app. You've taken that core desire, connecting people, and localized it to a realistic, highly specific problem. Building a communication tool just for your school's robotics club or the drama department? Now, that is a highly realistic success.
Next up, the generic game app. Building just another basic platformer really lacks a clear purpose. But if you inject a clear educational purpose into it, like, say, a cybersecurity game where you have to quickly spot phishing scams, well, you instantly upgrade it into a meaningful tool that actually educates the community.
Here's another common trap: a generic music player app. The big problem here? That market is totally saturated. Spotify and Apple Music already exist, guys. To create real value, you need to pivot away from that saturated market and target a very specific student solution. So the stronger version here is a mood-based study music app. It curates specific audio environments purely designed for student productivity and focus. You've successfully narrowed the scope and found a completely unique angle.
Finally, we have what I like to call the buzzword trap. The weak idea is just building an AI app with no clear purpose. Just throwing artificial intelligence at a blank wall simply doesn't work. Technology is a tool. It's not a solution in and of itself. It needs a specific, meaningful problem to solve. So we upgrade it to the AI homework planner. We take that really powerful technology and we apply it directly to a specific point of friction, which is student organization.
So we've broken down the anatomy of a winner, we've brainstormed those everyday friction points, and we've learned the true power of the minimum viable product. We've even seen how to take broad, kind of weak concepts and sharpen them into highly focused solutions. So I'm going to leave you with this final, vital question as we wrap up this explainer and you begin your own design journey. Look at your own life. Which daily frustration will you transform into your winning MVP?